Okay, I think we can get started. How's it going, Guy?
Hey, Maud, doing well. Had a few things I wanted to talk about / give an update on today. So, firstly, wanted to address this general phenomenon of whether it's community members, stockholders, contributors, etc., not really knowing what's going on in terms of what's getting built, why it's getting built, and when it's expected to ship. I think that the dev calls that we started over the last few weeks have been extremely helpful in that regard, in terms of it really feels like, we're all starting to collectively row in a similar direction and figure out what that direction should be. But still think there are a couple things that could be improved in terms of, informing everyone what's happening. So, one way I think about the structure of the Beanstalk community is sort of like concentric circles to some extent, where some folks towards the inside of the circle are the folks who are joining, the 20-30 folks that are joining all of these calls and staying tuned in, but don't think it's necessarily realistic to expect all stockholders or community members to do so. And so this is why I sort of think of how, as someone who spends not that much time thinking about the Ethereum roadmap, even I still know that, the Ethereum Shanghai upgrade is the one that will enable withdrawals and is expected to ship within, the next quarter or so, and think that there's a lot of value in, coining terms for all of these different upgrades, whether it's Beanstalk, other contracts we're deploying like Wells, etc. And, we can debate to what extent Beanstalk Farms should be the one creating the memes and narratives, but I think that at minimum, we could be doing a better job of, creating the foundation for the memes and narratives to emerge, if you will. And I think that starts with giving these projects, all of these different things that are being worked on, better names. So don't really have any concrete update there, but just wanted to let it be known that that's something I've been thinking about. On the one other axis to like people knowing what's going on is the extent to which we're sharing when things are expected to ship. I don't know if it was heartburn from the barn raise process, but it sort of feels like there has been this cultural drift to some extent amongst people working on Beanstalk about not necessarily sharing concretely when things are expected to ship, and I think that that's not really optimal per se. So feel comfortable saying today, just to preemptively answer when Wells, assuming when Wells means the passage of a BIP that whitelists a Bean ETH well and updates the Beanstalk Oracle, is looking like sometime in May at this point. I think that the happy path at the moment, assuming audits take exactly how long we expect them to take, development takes exactly how long we think it's going to take, it's probably looking like a happy path would probably be something like early May at this point. And, if we could be more specific, we would, but that's, based on the information we have at the moment. So those are a few thoughts I wanted to share on, the extent to which community members, contributors, etc., know what's going on. A couple other things I'll mention. Last week, Ishan from Scribe came and presented about what they would be proposing to work on in the Beanstalk ecosystem from a marketing perspective. And we had met with them this week. I think many of the folks at Beanstalk Farms are extremely excited to work with them. And it's probably looking like, they'll be able to start work on what they intend to within the next couple of weeks or so. And probably the long-term vision of that is them proposing to form their own organization via BIP, similar to how Beanstalk Farms work. But in the near term, just to reduce friction, it looks like Beanstalk Farms will probably be funding them. Oh, well, one other thing I meant to mention with regards to what's going on. This is sort of why we also, or in part why we also made all of the engineering channels public. So for folks who didn't see my message yesterday, in Discord, all of the engineering and ecosystem development channels that are happening in this Discord at least are now public and read only for any farmers. So, not really any synthesis going on there in terms of letting people know what's getting worked on, but at least the data is available there for people to, get a sense themselves. And it sort of seems like a no-brainer in retrospect, in my mind. The last thing I'll add is just that, the dev call, as usual, is being hosted an hour from now after the end of the DAO meeting, and believe that, there are a couple different things we want to cover. It seems like in practice, we're only able to get to one in most cases, but this time hoping to cover, how we should be thinking about the trade-offs of, forcing Beanstalk native assets like pods and deposits to conform to existing ERC standards, and what would the trade-off be versus, proposing our own, if you will. So there's a lot there, but and a few different topics, but yeah, I wanted to share those thoughts.
Thank you, Guy. And you've shared a few things here, so I'm just going to pause for a minute, see if any of the folks have questions about this before we move to development. All right, development. How's it going, Silo Chad?
Good, Mod. How are you?
All is well here.
Awesome. I'm gonna drop a pretty big message in the Barnyard chat and then just talk through some of these updates. This is a list of the PRs and development side stuff that we've been working on the past week or so. As Guy mentioned, we've opened up all of the dev channels, so a lot of the related conversations around these things is now publicly viewable. So feel free to give those a read, and if you have questions or want to jump into the conversation, just let one of us know, and happy to answer. So just to start on the UI side, so 2 new contributions from new contributors this week, actually. So Uncool Zero is working on the ability to transfer farm balances, which will be on the Beanstalk UI. That PR is in review currently, so that should ship soon. Tansan, who's a new contributor, is working on some upgrades to charting, including on the pod market page, as well as on some of the analytics charts. So welcome to both of them. And then in the background, Marshall and Albion have been working on the Wells UI, which is going to be, released with Wells here in the coming month or two, as well as getting that hooked up to the actual Wells contract side. I missed a couple things here. Cujo's been working very hard on the Wells subgraph, which is largely complete at this point. And then in addition, working on some upgrades to our other subgraphs, notably the Bean subgraph, which will hopefully allow us to have things like historical data from pre-replant included in those data sets. Bean Sama is also working as well in the background on the claim and do X functionality across all of the different forms. In terms of upcoming BIPs, so we talked a bit about this on the previous call, so I'll kind of omit some of the details, but Pizza Man has pushed his grown stock per BDV PR, which is currently in review and sort of final gas optimization and tweaking with myself and Publius and Breen and the rest of the team. So our goal right now is to get that merged in with Breen's zero withdrawal changes. If Breen's here, it doesn't look like he's here right now, but if he hops in, I'll have him give an update on that process. But in summary, we've sort of wrapped up, basically found a solution on the zero withdrawal front, and Breen has got that implemented and expect to get those all sort of merged together and prepared for audit and then BIP this week. Sorry, to be clear, we probably won't actually push it to audit this week, but the PRs will be ready. On the Wells side, a lot of stuff going on. So after some feedback from Halborn, we implemented some functions within the well to support fee on transfer tokens. KXO has shipped a new feature which allows gas optimized swaps between wells when using pipeline. So this allows pipeline to be used as a gas efficient router for multi-token trades, much like what the Uniswap router does, though with some notable differences. So that's there's a PR out for that. We've got a number of people working on gas optimizations and testing and security related things, just kind of looking across the code base. And then Publius is working on aquifer testing and finalizing pumps. A couple other things that are going on, some sort of side projects. Moon has begun work on a stable swap pricing function for Wells, just sort of getting the groundwork laid out there, so we could, hopefully have that ready to go sometime soon after Wells launches. New contributor BitInv, who I don't think is here with us right now, but has been working on some internal tooling that will help monitor transactions in pipeline and just kind of see what activity is occurring there. Another new contributor, Circuit Breaker, has been working on some tooling related to the contract side continuous integration that we do on GitHub. So basically, whenever we push code, there will be some new scripts that run to help verify that the code is safe and things like that. There's an AI documentation chatbot, which is currently in development. I believe Crypto Wizard is working on that. And then, had some conversations with Scribe3 just about the marketing related stuff. So that's a bit of a brain dump. Happy to answer any questions, but needless to say, lots going on, and pretty excited about all the new contributors who are with us. So thanks to everybody who's been pushing code.
Thank you, Chad. And I'm going to also pause here for a bit, see if any of those who are with us today have any questions. Okay. Sweet Red Beans couldn't be with us today, but he left a message that I'm going to read out. So they're working on basically a UX strategy that will be laid out or put out in 2 phases. And the first phase is going to involve enabling users to compose common flows together directly into the forms on the site. So an example, or that's an extension of today, where you can claim, and then you can claim and plant, or you can claim and do some other transaction. The second phase that will follow with that, it will be to build a more general transaction composer, which will then enable users to freely compose any source of arbitrary transactions. Their stretch goal is to finish the first phase of the UI design within the next week, and then the second phase will be the primary focus for the next weeks or the weeks next. And then if anyone has any questions, feel free to DM, shoot them a DM directly. And maybe I incorrectly say that you can claim and plant now, but you can't do that now, but you will be able to do it soon. Okay. Publius, any thoughts or comments on your end?
Not in particular on this end. Just working to try to get Wells out as soon as possible, and otherwise nothing worth spending time on in this context.
Yeah, I think we will have a lot to discuss anyways during the dev call. And Sarah, Chad just mentioned that the last dev call, or the Oracle related dev call, was very important for the development of Wells, and they look forward, as everyone else, for more of these calls. And we welcome everyone to come and contribute again in these development calls. Okay. Going to pause again, see if anyone has any question about anything, Beanstalk related. So whether we discussed it today or on another day, or it has never been discussed. Feel free to unmute yourself, or just drop in a message in the Barnier chat, and I'll read it loud. And Harry asks, how is the audit of the wells going?
Yeah, I can speak to the Wells audit. So in summary, right now we have 2 auditors looking at it. We've got Halborn and Sifrin, who are both doing their own independent research, and then we may have some other folks come in and take a look at it in the coming weeks as well, but that's TBD. I'm going back and forth with Halborn as they're wrapping up their side. So we've taken some feedback from them, like I mentioned, on the fee on transfer tokens, but generally everything is looking good. I'm hoping they have a report to us this week, but it kind of comes down to their timeline there. So we'll keep everybody posted, and my expectation is to see something from them in the next few days. And then Cifrin has done sort of their initial audit of, or is in progress with the audit of sort of the core Wells code. And then the next thing up is for us to deliver them the final aquifer code and the pump code, which, as per the dev call this week, is something that we're still iterating on and sort of deciding what the right configuration values look like. But hoping to have that, to them and all wrapped up in the next week or so.
Chad, can you share a little bit more about the idea of a fee on token transfer? What's the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, great question. So some tokens on Ethereum charge or program to charge a fee when transferring. So there aren't many major tokens that actually do this, but there are some, for example, Tether, which are designed such that a fee could be enabled. And what this would look like is, I send you 100 Tether, but when I execute that transaction on chain, a portion of my transfer actually just gets transferred to Tether, basically. So, maybe like it's, 0.3% or something like that, in which case you would receive less than the amount that I had specified to transfer. And this creates a lot of problems for AMMs like Wells, and Uniswap also has a pretty significant amount of code related to this, because the amount of tokens that the well holds now no longer matches up with the transfer sort of calls that are made to transfer the tokens. And so you have to do some extra math and extra computations in order to account for that. So we've come up with sort of our approach to how we're going to solve this. And, in summary, it's going to look like the sort of base swap functions don't take into account tokens that charge fees. And for the cases where you're trading on wells that do have tokens that have these fees, you have to use a different function. And we've tweaked the logic in the wells a little bit, such that in cases where a fee gets enabled after the fact or something like that, it doesn't cause a security issue. So a lot of nuance there, but I think our position is that generally these fee on transfer tokens don't really make sense, and there's a lot of ways to navigate around a token that tries to impose a fee. And so we don't really expect this to ever be an issue in practice, but it's something that is technically feasible, and there is at least some precedent for on chain. And so particularly after Halborn's recommendation, decided to dig a little bit more into it this past week.
Thank you for the detailed answer, Chad. All right, one more minute just to make sure if anyone else has a question or a topic that they'd like to discuss. Otherwise, we can conclude this meeting. And as a reminder, on top of the hour, the development call starts. Okay, thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.